8 years. Let's start there. 8 years. Because apparently some people need a reminder. Harry and Meghan have now celebrated their 8th wedding anniversary, and somehow, somewhere, in some corner of the royal commentary industrial complex, there are still people insisting that the marriage is doomed, not struggling, not facing challenges, not going through a rough patch, doomed, finished, over, any minute now. The same prediction that has been floating around since practically the moment Harry and Meghan announced they were together. And the latest version of this never-ending story comes in the form of reports claiming that Prince William is supposedly convinced Harry and Meghan will eventually separate. Eventually. That word is doing a lot of heavy lifting, because eventually is the safest prediction in the world. It's the fortune cookie version of royal analysis. If it doesn't happen today, then maybe tomorrow. If it doesn't happen tomorrow, then maybe next year. If it doesn't happen next year, then maybe 10 years from now. And if Harry and Meghan are still together celebrating their 25th anniversary, somebody will probably still be sitting in a television studio saying, "I remain convinced the marriage is in trouble." At that point, the prediction itself will need a retirement plan. But what makes the story fascinating is not the claim. It's how familiar it sounds. Because if you followed Harry and Meghan for any length of time, you've seen this movie before. Many times. The plot never changes. The cast changes. The headlines change. The supposed insiders change. But the storyline remains exactly the same. Harry and Meghan are supposedly about to split. And then they don't. Over and over and over again. At some point, reasonable people would look at the track record and reconsider. But this is royal commentary. Reasonable people are often outnumbered by people chasing clicks. And let's be honest, a happy couple living their lives is not nearly as profitable as a dramatic breakup that exists only in someone's imagination. That's the real problem. For years, there has been an entire ecosystem built around predicting failure. Not analyzing failure, predicting it, waiting for it, expecting it, almost hoping for it. Because Harry and Meghan continuing to thrive creates a problem for a lot of people. It challenges a narrative that some have spent years promoting. Think about it. How many times have we heard that Meghan wouldn't last? How many times have we heard that Harry would come crawling back? How many times have we heard that California was a disaster? How many times have we heard that their projects would fail? How many times have we heard that their marriage was under strain? The number is probably too high to count. Yet here we are, 8 years later, still married, still together, still raising their children, still supporting each other, still building businesses, still working on projects, still creating headlines. And somehow we're supposed to believe that all the people who have been wrong repeatedly are suddenly right this time. Interesting. Very interesting. What strikes me most about these stories is how little evidence is usually provided. Notice the pattern. There's always an unnamed source, an insider, a friend, a royal expert, a palace source, a person familiar with the situation, someone who supposedly knows exactly what everyone is thinking. These mysterious figures appear with remarkable frequency. They're everywhere. They seem to know everyone's private conversations, everyone's emotions, everyone's motivations, everyone's future plans. It's truly incredible. The British weather forecast struggles to predict rain accurately a few days in advance, yet somehow anonymous royal sources can predict the future of a marriage years ahead. What a remarkable talent. Maybe they should be solving global problems instead. But jokes aside, this is where people need to separate speculation from reality. Reality is observable. Reality is measurable. Reality leaves evidence behind. Speculation is not. And the reality is that Harry and Meghan have continued to show up for each other publicly and privately. The reality is that they continue to move forward together. The reality is that they have built a life outside the institution that many insisted they could never survive without. That reality matters. More than gossip, more than assumptions, more than anonymous claims, more than endless predictions. Because facts should matter, and the facts are not cooperating with the narrative. That's why these stories keep becoming more dramatic. When reality refuses to support the argument often becomes louder. It's a phenomenon we've seen repeatedly. And here's something else worth discussing. Imagine being married and having strangers publicly speculate about your divorce for nearly a decade. Think about how bizarre that is. Most couples get to have disagreements in private. Most couples get to experience challenges without international headlines. Most couples don't wake up to find thousands of people debating the future of their relationship. Harry and Meghan have lived under a microscope for years. Every photograph gets analyzed. Every appearance gets analyzed. Every expression gets analyzed. If Harry attends an event alone, it's a crisis. If Meghan attends an event alone, it's a crisis. If they attend together, people search for signs of crisis anyway. The conclusion always seems predetermined. The evidence is merely selected afterward. And that's why so many of these stories feel less like journalism and more like wishful thinking. Because when a prediction fails repeatedly, eventually people start asking questions, not about the couple, about the prediction. Why was it wrong? Why did it keep being wrong? Why should anyone trust it now? Those are fair questions. Very fair questions. What's particularly ironic is that Harry and Meghan have arguably demonstrated a level of resilience that many people underestimated. Remember the circumstances. They left royal life amid enormous controversy. They faced criticism from every direction. They endured relentless media attention. They built a new life in another country. They started new ventures. They navigated family tensions. They became parents. And through all of it, they remained together. You don't have to agree with every decision they've made to acknowledge that. You don't have to be their biggest fan. You simply have to recognize reality. And reality says they are still standing. The prediction says otherwise. One of those things has a stronger track record. Now, let's talk about Prince William for a moment, because if these reports are accurate and he genuinely believes Harry and Meghan will eventually separate, then time has not exactly been kind to that prediction. Again, we're talking about 8 years of marriage. 8 years! That's not a brief celebrity romance. That's not a temporary arrangement. That's not a passing phase. That's a substantial commitment, and every additional year makes the prediction look weaker because every anniversary becomes another reminder, another milestone, another moment that contradicts the narrative, another example of reality refusing to cooperate. What makes this even more interesting is that Harry and Meghan's critics often underestimate one thing: shared adversity. History shows that couples who go through significant challenges together can sometimes emerge stronger because of those experiences. They develop a sense of partnership, a sense of teamwork, a sense that they're facing challenges together rather than individually. Whether people like Harry and Meghan or not, it's difficult to deny that they have experienced extraordinary pressure, and yet they remain united. That's significant, very significant. Meanwhile, some commentators continue acting as though divorce is inevitable, not possible, inevitable. There's a difference. Anything is possible. That's true of every marriage on Earth. But inevitability requires evidence, and after 8 years, the evidence seems remarkably uncooperative. Another thing worth noting is how differently relationships are discussed depending on who is involved. When certain royals face challenges, the coverage often emphasizes strength, perseverance, and privacy. When Harry and Meghan face challenges, some outlets immediately jump to collapse, crisis, and catastrophe. The contrast is impossible to ignore. It's almost as if different standards are being applied. Imagine that. different standards in royal coverage. What a shocking concept. Nobody saw that coming. And this brings us to the bigger picture. The Harry and Meghan story has never just been about Harry and Meghan. It's become a cultural phenomenon, a debate, a symbol, a battleground for competing views about the monarchy, media, celebrity, race, tradition, and change. People project all kinds of hopes and fears onto this couple, which is why every story about them becomes larger than life. Their successes become controversial. Their failures become amplified. Their choices become national conversations. Few public figures attract this level of attention. And yet, despite all of it, they continue moving forward. That consistency is probably what frustrates some critics the most, because the narrative they expected never arrived. The collapse they predicted never happened. The return they anticipated never materialized. Instead, Harry and Meghan built a different life, a life outside the royal framework, a life on their own terms. And regardless of what anyone thinks about that decision, it happened. It's real. It's not hypothetical. It's not speculative. It's reality. Meanwhile, the prediction remains exactly where it started, waiting, still waiting, always waiting. It's almost become a tradition at this point, like royal Christmas walks or balcony appearances. Every year brings a fresh round of stories predicting disaster. Every year passes. The prediction survives. Reality moves on. Then the cycle begins again. There's something almost comical about it. Not because marriage is a joke, marriage is serious, but because the confidence of these predictions rarely matches their accuracy. Imagine a weather forecaster predicting a hurricane every day for 8 years. Eventually, people would stop listening. Yet somehow, royal speculation often escapes the accountability that applies elsewhere. A prediction fails, another prediction appears. That prediction fails, another one appears. The cycle continues indefinitely. No lessons learned, no reflection required, just more headlines, more clicks, more speculation. And that's why Harry and Meghan's anniversary matters beyond the personal milestone. It represents something larger, a reality check, a reminder that narratives are not facts, a reminder that assumptions are not evidence, a reminder that repeated predictions do not become true simply because they're repeated. Sometimes the loudest voices are also the most mistaken. History is full of examples. And perhaps that's the biggest takeaway from all of this. Whether these reports about William are accurate or not, the prediction itself has a problem. Reality keeps defeating it. Year after year, anniversary after anniversary, milestone after milestone. Harry and Meghan continue writing their own story, not the story predicted for them, not the story demanded of them, not the story imagined by critics. Their own story. And that story now includes 8 years of marriage, 8 years of partnership, 8 years of navigating extraordinary circumstances together, 8 years of proving that predictions are not destiny. For all the noise, for all the headlines, for all the commentary, that's the fact that remains. Not rumors, not anonymous sources, not speculation. Fact. 8 years, and counting. So when we hear another prediction about the imminent collapse of Harry and Meghan's marriage, perhaps the most appropriate response is the simplest one. We've heard this before. Many times before, and every year that passes makes it harder to take seriously. Because eventually, there comes a moment when reality wins, and in this case, reality has been winning for quite a while. The scoreboard is visible to everyone. 8 years of marriage, 2 children, a shared life, a shared future, and a prediction that continues to age like milk left outside in the middle of summer. For those still insisting that Harry and Meghan are destined to fail, the waiting continues. For Harry and Meghan, life appears to be moving forward, and after 8 years, that may be the most powerful response of all. Happy weekend from me, Smiley, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.